All right, folks. Welcome to the Song Themes Development Stream with Mike Rizzi.
Howdy. Morning, afternoon.
Yeah, morning,
you are.
afternoon, perhaps evening for some of you. So this is episode 4 of working on Mike's Song Themes app. And do you want to do the 30-second summary of what this app is about?
Sure. It's I'm a community music DJ on a local community radio station, and I've been collecting songs and themes. So, for example, I don't know, crazy idea, Christmas songs,
Yes.
or lists of songs about vampires or political songs, so forth. So I've got all these lists, and some are in spreadsheets, some are in sticky notes, some are in text files. And so I thought it'd be fun to collect them all together, but why not make an app and share it with the world of all these lists I've been making literally over decades. I think I started making these lists in probably 81.
Wow.
So a long time when I was in college. Um, And I realized there aren't that many theme websites out there. And if there are, the ones I found are usually like not so much a complete list, but like here's the top 10 songs about cats, right? Or whatever. And they're
Right.
usually filled with like a buttload of advertisements and are really annoying. Um, so I thought it would be fun to have something that's easier to use and a little bit more inclusive. And the idea was to start off with my list, but then create the concept of a contributor where somebody could contribute songs to the site, and then we could get into some interesting, a little bit more interesting software development stuff than just,
Right.
you know, displaying lists
Sure.
based on tags. And we could have the idea of members. So maybe a member could be able to save off their search results for whatever reason to generate a playlist and so forth.
Right.
So there's the less than 30-second tour.
And so you can watch the previous episodes. There's a YouTube playlist. I'll post a link for that in a bit into chat. And so you can see this is our Miro board where we were working on event storing it before we started development, but now we're into development. So where are we?
Oh, also on the event storming board, there's also our ubiquitous language.
Yes. Yeah.
Happening.
And so we've been updating our ubiquitous language with things that come up. Verbs generate nouns, just like commands generate events. All right.
And then
So, oh, what else?
I was going to fill you in on something, right? Oh, you've already showing my screen. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this is our Jira board.
Yes. This is our Jira.
Jira.txt. And this is sort of our list of stuff to do on the near horizon. And then at the bottom, there's also some random notes. It's a mock-free zone here. And then references. When people bring up stuff in the chat, I write down. So then we got some early stories, which we talked about in previous episodes. Some next level stories, and then some grouping of next level stories, like inviting someone to be in the site, or contributor adding songs, or contributor updating songs. Then Ted hasn't seen this. This morning, I sort of blurted out some of the ideas we talked about before, but then some new ones. Like the member could save the theme search result as a playlist, so they could come back and get it again. They could edit their playlist, maybe remove items. Like I don't care about old jazz songs, or they can reorder it so that it's actually like a playlist in whatever order they want. We also talked about, and I'm adding it now, member can generate I'll say Spotify for now, Spotify playlist YouTube.
Or any music player, right? Amazon,
yeah,
Apple.
yeah. Yeah, there's still that one that Windows has. What's it called? Windows Media Player.
That's not a. Is that a streaming service? That's not a streaming service.
No, but
No.
you can still generate a playlist
Sure.
for it and import
Right.
it.
Right.
So yeah. I was also thinking about the idea of, flag songs as favorites. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Out of these, like say I was only doing a 1 hour show, these are the ones I would do versus I have a 3 hour show. So I increase the list.
Right.
And then you get into some stuff that, is starting to mimic what you see in other systems,
Yes.
like
Yes.
rating songs.
Right.
Or they can share their playlist with anyone to the outside world.
Yeah, and you also get into basically fit this into a 1 hour sequence.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not that style of DJ, but there are DJs that do that.
Whereas like I've got my shows, I've got an hour, or probably, more like 42 minutes of songs. And so Matt, basically optimize the list to fit it into this time slot. That takes me back to an interview sort of homework assignment I had when I was interviewing with ThoughtWorks many years ago, which was basically optimize the times for a conference, given these talks. And I remember spending way, way, way too much time, because that's who I am, researching what is the appropriate algorithm. And it's basically bin packing. And so there's some good algorithms that can do that, because you want to maximize the number of songs, but you also want to minimize the waste. And it's a trade-off. And so we could have fun implementing that. Hey, Sweetie, nice to see you.
Hey, Sweetie. Hey, Mohammed.
Tukes, nice to see you.
And then here was an interesting one I realized that came out from looking at these.
Yes.
A contributor should be able to view their own contributions.
Right.
Like,
right.
What have I contributed over time?
Yeah. Yeah. With some of the rating stuff, it's like, it's very easy to fall down into the trap of doing some of the social media stuff of like,
right.
Well, now do I rate this person's, does this person's contributions generally rate high or not? And do I then?
Oh no, this is members rating their own songs. So this would be only visible to that member.
Oh,
not
I see.
Visible outside of.
Yeah.
So these two
Good.
were just to themselves.
Right.
Right. Not a larger thing. In other words, thinking of it as a tool.
But they're rating. They'd be rating the songs that they contribute, or just the ones that they find.
When they find.
So they are rating songs that somebody else contributed.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. You could take that information and then determine whether this contributor is, for me, is and that's it's not a bad thing. It's my tastes are very much like this contributor. Show me more from this contributor. So there is that possibility of going down that road.
Yeah. How do I want to phrase that one?
Similar taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that interview, I overdid it. Like they didn't really need me to solve the knapsack problem.
Yeah.
But I did test drive it, and they did like it, but they didn't end up hiring me. Yes, a Java stream in a world of JavaScript and TypeScript and Python and other stuff.
So that's all I wanted to show you.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things, and this is again why I always tell folks who are learning, the next step after following a tutorial is come up with a project of your own. And it can start out as something like, let me just create, songs by themes. Like, it sounds simple, but once you get into it, there's often an endless supply of ideas that you can implement that you may or may not have time for. But that will always sort of stretch your abilities. And the nice thing about doing it doing a project that is yours and has your ideas, it's likely you're more motivated to continue with it. Finding a pair really helps, but if you're on your own, finding a project that has utility or meaning for you is the best way to go.
Is there a place on your Discord channel where it would be appropriate for someone to search for a pair? Like, hey, I'm working on this.
I don't have a specific channel for that. So post
Like
in the general channel.
General,
There are a
yeah.
couple of times people post there. But if there's certainly enough interest, I'm more than happy to set up channels on my Discord. And speaking of my Discord, thank you, Nightbot. All right.
I'm going to run the IO free test.
I was about to say, let's
any
run our
breadcrumbs
tests.
left behind.
Let's run our tests. That's what we do.
Yeah, we've got 2 disabled tests, and we do have this Jira breadcrumb.
Right. So that's our in progress one, I guess.
Yep.
So
we were working at which level? I think we were doing this level, not.
Yeah, so we had finished that test, which was about
Right.
We were switching the implementation of our song searcher from basically an if block to a hash map, and we didn't finish that yet. We didn't yet handle. Well, we kind of no. So we did finish it from a prepare refactor point of view. We are still handling only one song to find, because that's the only behavior we had before. And now we want to, do we want to now extend that?
Yeah, I should have looked at this before we got on, but let's see. We left off with search for thing that does not exist, returns no results.
Right.
Parameterized test, which deals with the
that
case.
Deals with the case issue, yeah.
The case issue.
And we might want to update the test name to indicate
name. I was just going to say that. Let's do that first.
Yeah. You can just tack on ignoring case at the end.
Yeah. Joke.
Ignoring case.
I know.
Hey, Do It to Attitude. Thank you so much for your subscription. 28 months. Holy cow. 28 months you've been a subscriber. Thank you.
Wow. Cool. And then the disabled test was search for theme, finds multiple matching songs.
Right. And so we disabled that because we were basically kind of taking a step back to do that prepare refactor. I think we could clean up a little bit more before we proceed to undisable or re-enable the test. I noticed that I think the a couple of the fields in Song Searcher are no longer needed.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
It has one usage. Let's see what that is.
Oh, we just assign it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's not really. That doesn't count. Okay. Delete anyway.
So Sweetie mentions when we switched, we could use a tree map with a case insensitive comparator. We could, but yeah, I think we'll eventually go where theme is something that is normalized, especially since it's not going to be. It's probably going to be select from existing themes unless it doesn't exist, because otherwise, one thing I've learned from tagging and attribution stuff, which I've been doing throughout my career, is you want to not have themes that are very, very highly curated. Otherwise, you get a lot of overlap. Because you don't want somebody spelling out Christmas and then have another tag that is Xmas.
Right.
Because then you've got problems. Adage says, I've been measuring code coverage. The TDD stuff has a high level of coverage. It's kind of meaningless. Yes, you will end up generally, if you do TDD properly, you will end up pretty much at 100%, barring getter, setter, kind of constructor kind of stuff. And so, yeah, 98% is, 98+% is well, it's meaningful in that you've got really good test coverage, but it's meaningless in that it doesn't mean you've covered all branches, and that's where might want to look into mutation testing, because that'll really show how well your code is covered, how well your code is actually, the decisions are actually exercised and asserted against the outcome of those decisions. That's something that code coverage does not tell you. So it looks like you've got compile error in Song Searcher. Did you delete it and then not delete the? So if you hit F2,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to do it anyways, just to F2.
Yep.
And then song as well.
Yep.
One usage, we know where that's going to be. I don't need to look at it, so we'll just
Yep.
say delete anyway.
Yep.
Let's rerun the tests.
Yep. Shift F10.
Yeah. Should we do a commit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Not a Jira one.
No.
Removed unused fields.
Yeah, so I was using the AI assistant on stream yesterday, and midstream or towards the end of the stream, I basically my free activation expired, which was kind of funny. One of the things that it does is offer to write your commit message, and it's such this typical LLM of all this unnecessary words, like this like 12 words to express what really you can just say in 3. And I just that's the stuff I hate about LLMs. It's so verbose. Like, get to the point, fella. Come on. So yeah, so when I'm thinking about code coverage, I'm thinking about sort of the most precise code coverage, which is, did you cover all the branches? And even with that, they don't always check. For example, if you've got a complex Boolean expression, did you cover all, n combinations of that? If you've got one Boolean, okay, there are 2 possibilities, and then that can be checked with branch coverage. But if you've got 2 Booleans, did you cover all 4 options? And if there are 3 Booleans, did you cover all 8? And that's not something that I don't use the tools enough to know if any allow you to set that. But that's what you'd really want. You want to say, for every single expression where you're making a decision, did you cover every single possible value? And mutation testing can do some of that, but they have their limits in terms of what they can actually mutate. Yeah, so branch coverage is always what you want to look at if you're going to run it at all. Yeah.
Back to
yeah, can you make
steps?
the bottom window a little bit bigger?
Yeah, and actually I want to get rid of that on line 43 and 44. I want to reformat that. It's driving me crazy because it's off screen majorly.
So reformat would fix that. Once you outdent, yeah.
Once I do one of them, not performance logging.
All that performance logging. Speaking of performance,
once you outdent once, then the formatter knows what you want to do. Is that what you're going to say?
Yes, yes, because it aligns the indents. So on the bottom, can we look for that? I think it's the last method, the one that actually does the search. So by theme, yeah. So I wanted to point this out because this is what folks mean. And maybe you can bring up, if you right click and maybe do the local history so we can see what it was before, or you can look at the git history of this. So you can do, local history. And let's go back.
Go back. Yeah, you want a specific one.
I just wanted to go back to when you had the
For the method?
For the method, yes. Perfect. So it'll probably go back to, let's go back to, yeah, let's look at that one. Let's go back further.
Do a Boolean search.
There we go. Okay. So what this is what folks mean when we talk about testing behavior rather than implementation. Right? This is two different implementations. One is using an if statement, and we held information in a field. And the one on the right is storing stuff in a map and then looking for it in the map. Those are implementation details. What always puzzles me, though, is sometimes people talk about, yeah, I write tests and then I change the implementation and then the test fails. And I don't know about you, Mike, but that almost never happens to me. And so, but I want to point this out, like, what would you have to do to actually be testing the implementation here, where when you moved to the right side implementation, it would no longer work? And maybe this code is too simple to figure that out, but that's sort of,
In my younger naive days last week, no, a few years back, before I started understanding, really deeply understanding OO design, is I would have that where the test would break. And the problem was I can only talk about it conceptually, not with code, obviously. But invariably, I was testing some implementation detail that I, as the developer, knew and should have been obfuscated from the caller and not be viewable,
right.
but was viewable in some way where I could, pierce the veil of encapsulation, if you will.
Right. Right.
And so it seems like it goes hand in hand with less than desirable IO. Is that diplomatic enough? I mean,
Sure.
less than desirable object-oriented design.
Yeah. AKA procedural.
Yeah. Yeah, I vividly remember that aha moment when it was like, oh, that's what object-oriented design is about. It was actually a Alan Holub class on OO that I was taking. And at that point, I'd already been doing OO development, I thought, for like 10 years. And I took that class, and it was literally the clouds parted, the light came shining down. It was like, I knew nothing. It was like,
yes.
I have to start all over again.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I remember many years ago, many years ago, around the design patterns book time, that's when some of the OO stuff really started to click for me. So, but if you do, so for me, I asked this because I see this come up fairly frequent as an objection to TDD, but to me, I'm just, and I always ask for examples and I never get any, of like what tests were brittle enough that when you TDD'd them and then you change the implementation, you had to go and change your tests. There are some cases where you're changing the structure. So for example, if we weren't returning a list of string, we were returning a list of song. Okay, we'd have to change that. But that's a structural change. The test wouldn't fail. If it compiles, it probably is going to work. You're just changing types. So mostly around changing types. And if so if we change the requested theme to actually theme object, that's a type change, but behavior is still the same. But if you're doing TDD first and you basically are looking in from the outside, that's the whole idea of that's sort of the test driven part for me is and that's the design process is, what do I want the thing to do? What's the behavior? And then you leave the implementation for last. So that, anyway, just wanted to bring that up because we literally sort of changed the implementation and all our tests passed, other than the case which we had lost. But that probably was a case, no pun intended, of insufficient testing on. And this is the hard part about TDD is how many tests do I write? Sometimes you're focused on behavior, but then there are details like oh, is this a case insensitive search? We wrote it that way, but we didn't. Perhaps we actually wrote too much code when we wrote equals ignore case. So
right.
So that's the danger of writing, even just a few words more can lead you to a place where there's an assumption between the test and the code that's not captured in a test. And so therefore, you can change the code in a way that's compatible with that test, but actually it's broken. So Dodo Attitude says, it's not clear to me the behavior of by theme shouldn't be named by theme. So we're in Java. So method names start with a lowercase letter. But tell me more about what's unclear about the behavior. So we were searching for songs by theme.
Should I click out of this? You can,
yeah, so I think
you can see the collar. Maybe you might make it.
Yeah.
Maybe look at the collar here. That might make it more obvious. Yep. Song searcher by theme, and you pass in the theme.
Yep. Yeah, and so mocks can get you into this situation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And no, we won't go on a tangent there.
I guess this could be for theme too. Might be a little bit more Englishy.
I would interpret that differently. So, so the way I would interpret if it was for theme is you're going to give me a searcher, basically a thing that does things, as opposed to the results. I want a specialized song searcher for this theme, and and then there would be sort of an execute or find or something like that. So that's the way I would interpret that.
Yeah. No, I'm sold.
Yeah. Which would be an interesting design, but we don't need that. So
yeah, no.
Yeah. All right. So we had disabled this test in order to do our refactoring. I think we've prepared as much as we're going to be able to prepare. So let's re-enable it, and it should fail. Because we only returned the first song. Yep. So it only returns the first song. Excellent. So let's go fix it.
Okay, so
I think we might need another prepare refactor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like the crickets of silence there. Okay, so bring back disabled. I presume that.
So what was your reason for coming to that conclusion? Because I came to it for something that I'd forgotten about, just remembered.
Oh, I was like, it's returning a song singular.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have this. Do we even? Actually, I was still saying to myself, do we have the ability to turn this into songs plural? And that's where my head was at that point when you spoke up.
Right. So the problem is our underlying data structure is not quite good enough. It works if we want to have two different themes, each with one song, but if we want one theme to have multiple songs, a map is insufficient because a map is a one-to-one relationship. Mm-hmm. So we need a one-to-many relationship, and we have a few choices. One is we can change the map to store, for the value, we could store a collection. That's one option. But that will require us to write some data structure code. Another option is to bring in a dependency. So basically, and it's really interesting that the core Java framework, the core Java collections framework, doesn't have multi-map. And I always thought, unless they added it without me knowing about it, there is no Java multi-map, because at least as far as I know.
That's Spring though.
Yeah, so there's multi-value map, which we can get from Spring, but if we do that, then we don't want to pull in the dependency on the framework here.
Yeah.
There's a multi-map implementation in Guava, but I feel like Guava is generally not obsolete, but like a lot of it is sort of, it's not a dependency I want to bring in because it's actually a fairly big dependency, and it has a bunch of stuff that we just don't need. So there is a library that I've been actually wanting to play with more, and that is the Eclipse Collections library.
Only I spelled it right. Is this it? Yeah. We'll need this one though.
Yeah, you want, and that's actually pointing to an old version. Why don't you click on that one? Yeah, because that's the one we actually want. So that's the actual implementation, but that's the library, the Eclipse Collections. So if you go up to go and click on the repo itself. So what's the latest version? 11.1.0. Okay. So your project, what should we do? Should we pull in this dependency, or should we write the necessary code to handle it ourselves?
I guess it depends how complicated rolling our own is going to end up being, such that I've definitely gotten bit by the not invented here syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm slightly wary, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, we'd probably want to test drive that thing.
For sure.
And I mean, it's not complicated. It's basically a matter of how do we basically have to pull out the list. So before we when we try to add it to the map, the first thing we have to do is say, is that key already there, right? Is that theme already there? If it is, we have to go and grab the list and add it to the list, and then for completeness sake, put the list back, even though you're changing the reference, so you probably don't even need to do that. And I don't think persistence is going to, well, persistence, it'll depend on when we get to persistence, how we do that. So it's not, I mean, it's probably half dozen, 10 lines of code.
But you said you were kind of jonesing to try this library, so I'm okay.
Yeah, but
I'm
not sure that justified. I'm not sure replacing 10 lines of code with a library is worth its weight. So on the other hand, it is, a distraction in the sense of it's not
part of our primary goal.
Not part of our primary goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could go either way. If you're interested in writing that code and then doing the necessary refactoring, that'll be interesting. Otherwise, we could just pull it in.
Yeah, I'm torn. I could go either way.
So I don't know if chat has an opinion. Do you have an opinion, chat, on whether we should pull in the dependency or write it from scratch? We could almost probably
very
copy and paste
crickety
something
over there. Yeah, I was actually wondering, like, what does their code look like for?
Yeah, well, let's look at it. So I think you're actually there. So if you back up in the browser, because that's the implementation. That might be the interface. So scroll down. Yeah, so that's the interface. So what we would want to use is there's a fast list multi-map. So we got one vote from chat. Arthur says from scratch. Yeah, and so one of the things that is nice about this Eclipse Collections is it has a bunch of it has pretty much immutable and mutable support for almost every collection type. Yeah, so I'm going to take Suiji that as a vote for hand roll it ourselves. All right, let's hand roll it. It's not going to
Okay.
take that much.
Sounds good. I'll let you navigate on this one. And I'm going to keep this around for stealing, or?
Oh no, I mean, so the advantage of rolling it your own is you're only going to implement exactly what you need. Like there's all sorts of other stuff that we could support. Like how would you handle deletions? We don't need deletions.
Yeah, true.
Because deletions are tricky, because you're specifying not just, you'd have to figure out what is the behavior that you want from a deletion. You want to delete, you don't want to delete the whole key. I mean, you might want to delete the whole key. But most likely you'd probably want to say, I want to delete this song. In which case you'd have to look for the key. So searching for a song gets trickier because with a regular map, if it's a one-to-one, you just say, give me all the values, and you have a list of songs or a collection of songs. But if it's stored as a list, now you say, give me all the values, you got a bunch of lists, and so you'd have to sort of concatenate those lists and separate them out. But we're not searching by song, and even if we were searching by song, we would use a different data structure, so it doesn't matter.
Because we will be searching fairly quickly, find a song with any song attribute.
Right, and so this is where we get into, do we do this in memory, or do we rely on our persistence? And I would say let's rely on our persistence to do that, because it's very good at that. Yeah. Yes. Different read models, because we'd have to iterate through all the lists and find it. And then it gets even trickier with, yeah. So we could certainly do it. I mean, basically each way of, so it's interesting how sort of indexing and read models and things like that, like if we were to do this in memory, we'd basically have one map that's themed to songs and another map that's whatever attribute we're searching on to song. And so I've done this where in my in-memory repositories, I create a couple of these maps, because sometimes I'm searching by ID and sometimes I'm searching by some attribute. And maps are basically indexes, from, if you think about it. So,
and the downside of that approach is you have to keep everything in sync.
Yes, which means anytime you add something, you have to make sure you update all your indexes. And then you're going to start wanting to not do that anymore, and wish you had
done a multi-map.
Yeah. But one of the nice things then is actually, once you get to that level of complexity, you should be able to then just substitute it, and everything should just work. So, all right, so let's implement this from scratch, which means that we actually want that test to fail. So that will force us to deal with it. Although I guess we could do a little bit more prepare for refactoring. Can we go up to the definition of the map?
Yes.
Yeah, so we could do an additional preparation of making it work where the value is a list of song as opposed to just a song.
Right.
So I don't know that there's a refactoring that'll get us there, so we might just change the code, get it to compile.
Like this was your mean?
Yep. And
then, yeah, what are you going to say?
I was going to say let's rename the field, but let's get back to compiling before we do that.
Okay.
So we need that song to be a list. So let's just do the simplest thing to make that a list. Did you get what I meant? Or
no, I didn't. Sorry.
Okay. So right now there's a compile error for the songs sub-0.
Right. Oh, so do like list of?
Yep. And then you need a final paren.
Yep.
And likely there's another compile error somewhere. So if you hit F2, we'll jump to that.
Okay. Actually, I want to try something if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to undo that.
You're gonna do the arg.
Yeah, I want to see if that works. So if you
So
just
you don't
do
need to, yeah, just do a
.arg,
postfix. .arg.
.arg.
Yep. That's the Suiji's favorite move.
Yeah, that's a nice one. So I wanted to
Yep.
practice Suiji's move.
Yeah. Yeah. After you start typing it, it's like, oh, we should use .arg, but you already typed. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Yep.
And then you
Awesome.
said there was one other place to.
Yeah. So if you hit F2.
Yeah.
So now we need to, what we get back is a list of song. And
we can rename that in a second. Or you want to rename it now? Requested, or we can't do song plural.
Well, let's not rename anything until we get back to compiling. Okay. So now we can't do list of song title, but because song is not a song, it's a songs. Maybe we should rename it. Let's go rename it to songs.
We can't look on the right side of the equal sign.
Well, these would be found matching songs. Either found songs or matching songs.
Let's do matching. I could go either way.
Let's do matching. I like matching. Yeah. And then we can pretty much replace that return with a stream and a map. So do matching songs dot.
Just start over, delete the whole thing.
Yeah, you can delete the whole thing and we'll just rewrite it.
Yeah.
So matching songs dot stream and then dot map. And what we want to extract is the title. So if you do song : uppercase S.
Right.
Because it's a method handle and title. And then you got an extra paren.
I have an extra, or
you have one too many. And now you want to do a dot to list.
Right. So this is a disabled test, so it's really just about compiling. So I might as well run the test.
Well, so this was another prepare refactoring. So all the tests that we're passing should still pass. And it's, I was talking on somewhere, it might have been LinkedIn, about sort of what percentage of time during TDD we're actually writing new behavior. And sometimes, especially like when writing a lot of new code, it feels like very little percentage of the time where we actually, like, how much new behavior have we introduced? None yet, right? And we've been streaming for 45 minutes, and okay, maybe only coding half an hour or 20 minutes of that, but we've been doing a lot of refactoring because, especially early on in features, you start with something very, very simple, and you end up having to refactor to prepare for what it is. Now, on the flip side, the people who say, you need to do more upfront design, they could have said, look, you knew you were going to get here, so why didn't you just start here?
Right.
And there is a certain validity to that. Like, had we spent maybe 10-15 minutes sort of planning out what do we need, what are the when we get to searching for multiple themes, we'll probably need a data structure that supports that. And and there's something to that. But even so, I find that even if it's not something that you could have foreseen, there is still a lot of refactoring that's happening versus new behavior. So prepare refactor is a refactor, therefore it is not modifying behavior. The idea is to change the structure of the code to prepare for the feature that you're going to implement. And yes, it's the infamous Kent Beckism, make the change easy and then make the easy change. And what I invariably find is when we then do make the change to support it, it's very, very, very few lines of code. Yeah, and so I think there's a balance of how much do you want to sort of take for granted and sort of say, no, this is the structure we're going to need. These are the objects we're going to need. These are the classes we're going to need. And you can take bigger steps, but it means if you guessed wrong, you then have potentially more to undo. Let's do a commit since we did a structural change and all our tests are passing again.
Whoa. Seem okay? I don't know what happened with the.
I would say we're not returning multiples. Well, it is a prepare for returning, but I would be more descriptive about what we actually did, which was change the prepare refactoring by changing the map to hold a list of songs.
Cool.
Cool. All right, I think now we can re-enable the test. It should still fail in the same way, which is it won't find the second song.
Nope.
Good. So it fails in the same way. And that's reassuring because when you do prepare refactorings, you may implement a bit of behavior, or you may change behavior that's not observable by the test that we're passing, but that is observable by this test. So I could see a place where now we got the second song and not the first somehow.
Right.
Like if we had used a set instead of a list, it's certainly possible that we would get that because set has no ordering. But since we did a list, it defines the ordering as how they were added. So we've retained that thing. And so that's where when we do a prepare refactoring, it is reassuring when the test that was failing fails in the same way it did before. So it does. And so we're good. All right, let's make it pass.
Okay. How are we populating this sucker? We're doing it that way. We're passing in both. We create song searcher.
Yeah, so here's where we need our implementation of the multi-map. So all the calling code is fine. It's all variable var args all the way down, and so it's pretty much in the constructor that we need to fix it.
Because it's a map. Oh, I see. We're just putting one. Would this be a loop through the var args?
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't we do some renaming actually, which we should have done before. So let's.
Should we disable test again?
No, I think we're fine. This is just a rename. Let's rename the field. I think to better indicate that it's. So what I generally do is I might say something like songs by theme, or theme to songs map, depending on how much information about the structure do you want to put into the name.
I've been trying to move away from Hungarian, which means have the word map in the name of the. Because if we say we changed it to some other structure, we don't have to then change this name. That'd be the advantage of that, right? I don't know what structure we would change
Yeah,
it to. That's not a map, but
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is like, and that's where when it comes to maps, I don't mind having map in the name because that is its purpose. Eventually, it might get encapsulated in something else, but right now, that is the main field for Song Searcher. It is basically a map. So if I were to put map in there, I might say theme to songs map. So it's sort of key to value map. Yeah. But if it's theme singular to songs plural.
Plural, right?
Yeah.
I think I like that better. What do you think?
That would be my first choice.
Okay. I wanted to type both to kind of get my head wrapped around the two options and then choose. Okay.
Yeah, set would better indicate that we don't care about the order. We could change that later.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's change the argument on line 12 in that constructor because it actually is songs plural. And now we need to loop.
Old school loop.
If you type songs.for, it'll do the right thing. Yep, and we'll basically put that in the loop. You can just push it up.
Oh, cool. What's the push up shortcut? Sorry, I can just copy and cut and paste.
Control Shift up arrow.
Control Shift up arrow. There we go.
And so now you can just replace any of the ones that were specifying the index with just song. Now that still won't work, but it might fail differently because we're still overriding. We're not appending anything to that list. So we haven't actually, but this is a step in the direction.
Let's see what it looks like. It's probably going to show the last song.
Yes. So it will now fail differently.
Right.
But in your predicted way.
Right. Cool.
So now now's the hard part where we have to write some actual behavior.
Yeah.
So what do you think we should write?
So you don't think an add would work unto itself? That's the missing behavior? No, you're saying multi-map.
So when do we want to basically create a new key value entry, which is what we're doing now, and when do we want to add to that list?
Now this constructor, it's when the theme changes. So right now the constructor is just a pile of songs. They happen to be all the same theme.
Right.
But it could be.
Yeah, so we could do the simplest thing that could possibly work, since right now it is only the same theme. We can make that assumption because that's what the test is saying. So that's a simplifying assumption. So how do we take advantage of that simplifying assumption if we're always assuming the theme is the same?
Yeah, wouldn't this be is it add?
Well, so there's no add because it's a put.
It's a map.
You're always putting key value. So there's two ways we could do this. One would take advantage of the simplifying assumption.
What are the two ways?
So one way is convert the songs to a list and put that and no loop.
Oh,
The other, so that and that will work.
right.
Then we will have to write a test where we have songs with different themes and be
Right.
able to find those. Then we will have to put in some checking. Hey, does this theme already exist? If it does, grab the list, add the new song to it, and it's not really necessary to put it back, but you could put it back.
So that basically that's the beginning of the multi-map.
Well, that's the beginning of adding when there's already a theme there, basically checking to see if that theme is there. So if we just say, and what's interesting is we could do this without for loops at all, and we can do basically a stream that does the mapping for us. But let's do the simplest thing that could possibly work.
That's what I was leaning towards, because then we can
for this
write a
one,
test that forces us to deal with their stuff. And okay.
I'm not sure what you mean by edit by theme. Would map merge work? Maybe. I think we're never modifying the map. At least we currently do not have a way to do that. No test and no behavior requires us to add songs to an existing song searcher. At some point we will have to do that, but that will likely be when we get to persistence. So that won't be it.
Right now it's all coming in through the constructor.
Yeah. No, one of the nice things about the way we implemented our by theme method is this will just work. It already handles the assumption that there could be multiple matching songs, because it just does a stream on the results. Yeah, I'm not sure, but all we don't have a map incoming.
Right.
So we need to convert it. We need to convert it to a map. But right now, let's do the simplifying assumption.
Right. Which was to, you said it was, instead of putting
build the list first, basically convert the songs to a list of songs. And then just put that in the map.
Wait a second, list song.
Right.
I need another temporary name for this one. I would go with this for now, and then we'll fix the name, unless you have a better idea.
That's fine for now. And here we can just use Java's arrays dot as list. Yep.
Okay.
Is IntelliJ suggesting something else? No. Okay.
Was it? You want me to go?
It was yellow for a second. I was wondering what it was thinking, but it went away.
I think it was a semicolon was missing. Was that it?
No, it wasn't.
No.
And so we can get rid of the for loop because we don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
But we do need some of that code that we had. I'm sorry, I meant get rid of just the for.
Right.
We're not returning anything. This is a constructor.
Oh, it's a constructor. Okay.
So we still want to do a put. And we're going to make the simplifying assumption that the first song is the theme for all of them. That needs to be songs. Yep.
Yeah.
But the list is our temp songs.
Yeah.
And we could probably just inline that.
Inline it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Control Alt N. There we go.
All right. Do we think this will make the test pass?
I think it's going to pass, but I feel like
think
we
so.
changed a lot of code in a short amount of time, but let's see.
No,
Sweet,
passes. Yeah.
passed.
We ended up only basically changing that one line.
Because we had gone into the for loop and then
We went to the for loop and realized that that's not what the tests were asking for.
before, right?
And so really the only thing we changed was, instead of list of song of the first song, we just converted to an array list. So we've made very few changes to this line.
Right.
And you can click in the gutter to actually see what we've changed. Yeah. So we renamed the variable, but really the only significant change was from the list of the first song to the array list as list of all the songs.
Right.
And that was
gonna...
it. And so I want to pause here and say we made the change easy. And now all we had to do was make the easy change, which was not even a full line of code. Everything else just worked. And the magic of prepare refactoring.
I don't mean to do this to keep it. This is not intended to keep it. Assuming all incoming songs are same thing. Right. This is our assumption. Yes. We're now going to write a test to crush that assumption.
Right. And this is how the code feeds back into our tests to tell us what test to write next. But before we do that, let's do a commit.
Okay. You want to just leave it in and then we'll delete it.
Yeah, so we could do this as a by function. I was thinking eventually we would probably use a stream group by to convert those list of songs into a map of the appropriate type. Although I'm not necessarily sure that's easier than using the by function. We'll see. Because grouping by, especially grouping by something that ends up having a map, ends up having a key to a list.
I don't really like my comment, but I can't. My brain's not.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Cool. So now we write a new test.
Now we write the new test.
Should we break? I think we're at the 1 hour point, aren't we?
Oh yeah, that's actually a good time to break. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Okay, I was gonna say 7, but
oh, you want a 7-minute break? We can take a 7-minute break. So at 40 minutes past the hour, we'll come back and we'll write our next test.
Sweet.
Yep. So just a reminder for those of you who are not yet already in the Discord, go to ted.dev/Discord and join the Discord. We talk about all this stuff. You can ask questions, and it's a great community. So come and join if you're not already a member. If you want to find me on the socials, the best thing to do is go to ted.dev and you'll find me on LinkedIn. Even though I'm technically on Twitter, I don't post on Twitter anymore. Mastodon is the place I do it, there, and LinkedIn, and that's the way to find me. All right, we're back.
Rock and roll.
There you go.
I have the talking headset. It says your mute is on. Oh yeah, thank you.
All right.
That's one thing that's interesting with StreamYard is it doesn't connect the headset mute to StreamYard, whereas like Zoom, they connect it to each other. So this, if I mute the headset, it'll mute Zoom, vice versa.
Yeah, that's totally up to the browser.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna write a new test, right?
We're gonna write a new test
to get rid of this hideous comment.
Yes. So if you feel like writing a comment like that, use that as a springboard to write a test.
Exactly.
By the way, whenever navigating, let me know and we can mob it up. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. Maybe let's do it next time so we can make sure we got the mob stuff set up correctly and all that.
Yeah, because you'll need to push the code.
Right. Yeah.
So you could push it on a I mean, you could push the code and we could figure out a way that none of the behavior goes live. That's easy enough to do.
Right.
So, all right.
Sounds good. So we want to call this something like well, I don't like it, but I'm just gonna do this for now. I don't know how to phrase it actually. I was gonna say where. I don't want to say database. Mentally, I was thinking where database has multiple themes.
So here, I think the key is we don't care about multiple matching songs. That's not the aspect we're testing.
Yeah.
We're sort of testing something that's orthogonal to that. So I might say for songs with multiple themes, search finds all themes. I mean, again, we can always refine that. That sort of gets that idea across.
Songs with multiple themes, search finds
all themes, or
do we want all? Is that the next baby step, or is we just find a single theme, but the data? In other words, do we want to populate it with like a third song that's a different theme? And then we want it to, for example, if we changed 42 or added at 43.5, a new song that's a different theme, but now we want to still get back the same results as we get in the assert on 46. So that's like a small step. Or were you thinking returning multiple themes?
I think I was thinking if we add two songs, each having a different theme, we should be able to find songs by two themes. Yeah. pretty much what Sweegie said.
2 songs, 2 themes, can find both. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for songs with multiple themes, search finds or search finds all songs. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm sure we could find a better.
Yeah, I can't think of
phrasing for that, but
yeah. Okay.
And you accidentally modified line 43.
Mm-hmm.
You stuck an A at the front of New Year's.
If we ran the test, we would have found out really fast. If you hadn't seen that.
Yes, we would have. Indeed.
Okay, so we want to do something similar.
Mm-hmm.
But multiple themes. So I guess we'll channel the season that it is.
Yep. Is there a song for Take Down Your Tree already?
Take Down Your Tree already. There is this song.
If not, there should be.
Yeah. There is that song.
Okay, close enough.
Which is it's a country and western song. It's really fun.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I was on the air Christmas Day, so
right.
I got to play it.
Did you play that song?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
There was a fair amount of irreverence in the show. Not completely. A friend of mine's stepmom said it's a bit too aggressive for me. Or at least a particular set. It wasn't, the whole show wasn't that way, but that particular set was. So okay, so we are now want to search by multiple themes. What is the? Yeah, see, it's taking a single theme, so we already have.
Yeah, so I think we would be doing just 2. I think we need to do 2 asserts on the search.
Oh, meaning search twice? Search
Yeah.
by one, assert, then okay, versus, because ultimately we are going to want to, like, I want songs about vampires and
yeah,
zombies.
yeah.
That's too big a step. Yeah,
that's too big a step. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to be shamelessly stealing here.
So what's interesting about this one, though, is do we care? I guess may as well use the title, but from a certain point of view, we actually don't care about the title anymore. We just care that this one. But checking for the title is probably a good idea because.
Are you talking about a comment in the chat?
No, I'm talking about your assertion. You're doing it contains exactly when theoretically you could just do a has size of 1. But I might be concerned that it's returning the same song both times and we wouldn't know. So
right.
I retract my simplification.
Okay. And I'm actually forcing it to go to the second one on purpose. Just to, mix it up. Whereas the last test was going for New Year's.
Yeah, I guess I might have in this test. I kind of feel like I'd want to have 2 assertions, and so I'd inline 58, and then duplicate it and make sure for New Year's we get that. But this one is actually good enough to go from failing to passing,
right?
And then we can ratchet up the test by adding another assertion.
Yeah, see, I was thinking I was about to duplicate that.
Oh, okay. But let's stop here.
Yes.
And I'd probably push the found songs because that's the action. So I'd stick a
right. I knew that
line there,
yeah.
And then we can do that. So this should fail because
it's going to still return the original one.
Yeah. Not
actually, it's returning nothing
because
it's got a different theme.
Right, because Christmas was never added.
Yeah. So if we had done this with New Year's, it would have passed.
Would it have? Let's do it. Let's actually do search by theme New Year's.
It doesn't matter what we check the contains exactly as.
So this is going to fail.
Because I need to think about that a bit more then. I'm just going to run it.
Because it returns both. Because we added all songs based on the first song's theme.
Right. So it's actually good that we tested both because it helps.
Yeah.
Inform implementation. Okay. You want to just continue with this one? With New Year's making this one pass, or do you want to do Christmas and make that one pass?
Well, once we make one of them pass, I think both assertions would pass. But I feel like I want to add.
Want to add a third song?
No, I was thinking of putting in the other assertion, but no, let's just make this pass. All right. So let's attempt to make this pass.
Okay.
So it's not going to be in the search aspect. It's going to be in the constructor. Yep.
Oh, right. We're only putting the first one in. So now, and the map is a map of themes to songs. So right now we're just putting the first one in. We need to now we need to do the loop.
Well,
or maybe not. We could do it through streams.
So it depends on how big a step we want to do. Do we want to take a step where it's like, look, we know we're going to basically just, in a sense, map this list of songs and sort of collect and group by the theme. Or we could take a smaller step and just do a for loop and assume that or actually not assume, just do it as a for loop. So we could do this the for loop way, which is going to be complicated in one way, and then maybe we could convert it to the stream, or merge one of those, which is either one of those is going to be a little bit more complicated, or at least maybe complicated is not the right word, less familiar than the for loop version.
Why don't we try both?
Yeah, so I think let's
we are streaming, right? So why not try both for folks?
Let's do the for loop
first.
Yeah, so Suiji mentions that for loop that will need some if statements, and we'll have a bit of we'll have some logic. But I think that is probably more familiar to folks, and then we can show the difference.
Yeah. And possibly you can show how to refactor to it.
It's always possible. IntelliJ will say refactor this way. Presumably the AI assistant, if you got it working, would certainly be able to do that.
This is what we're doing?
I mean, we could do it as for each. I think we should just do a loop through the songs.
Okay.
And I think we'll find the grouping by is actually not so hard.
Yeah. Something's not right.
So you can't just put it. You
right, I
have
gotta
to
do it.
check first.
Yeah, there's the if statement. Actually, I'm not.
So we want to do is we
Moving
want to,
before I'm thinking.
so let's write this as comments
Okay.
without getting lost in the syntax. So what is the first thing we want to do? Before we add, we want to check, is this theme already in the map? And so if it is, then grab the value for that, which will be a list. So we would do a basically get the list for that key. So if you do a get, what we're going to do is we're getting a list of song. So if it is, then we get the value for that theme. And then add the song to that list. If it's not, then we create a new list. Technically a new array list because we want it to be mutable. And then add the song to that list. We want mutable, not immutable, sorry. And then add the song to that list. And now that we write this out, we see some commonality. So we could probably pull out the add song to that list. We're always adding a song to a list. It's just a question of where we get that list from. So let's delete that and then outdent 17.
16. Well, it's 16 now.
Sorry, now it's 16. Right. So basically, are we adding it to a new list or are we adding it to a list that already exists? If it's already in the map, it's there and we want to add to it. If there's no entry, then we need to create an entry by creating a new list and then we do a put. So in both cases, the last thing we'll need to do is then do a put back to the map.
Right.
So let's add that as our last comment on 17. Yeah, I would just say put list into map. Yeah.
Because it's a put, right. Okay. Because it's a map, it's replacing the previous string to value pair.
Yeah, and so Suiji mentions put if absent. And so instead of checking to see if the map has a list and then grabbing it, we basically say put an empty array, put the empty array list in. If it's not there, then we can always know that a list is going to be there for that entry. So that's kind of a bit of an optimization from a.
Do we want to use this?
Basically would get rid of our if check. I would say let's do it all the ways.
All the ways?
So all the ways. So let's do it the way we just did it. Then we'll change it to if absent, and then we'll change it to using the group by collector. Yeah, it's always like map is super powerful. There's all sorts of stuff that you may not use on a regular basis. And so there's all sorts of interesting stuff there.
What was it? Using group by?
Yeah, using the collector's grouping by.
Is it grouping by or group by? Or I guess we'll find out.
It's grouping by.
Grouping by, okay.
because it's a verb. Well, I guess group by could be considered a verb, but anyway, it's grouping by.
Cool.
All right, so let's implement that one, the first one.
I don't know why I'm doing that. So let's see. How do you?
So the key
get,
needs to be lowercase, right? So if we're going to put two lowercase, we should and this is going to be a question, basically a query against, right? We're doing a query against the map. Hey, is this entry in there? So you need to ask the map a question.
Contains key, right?
Yep. Lowercase c.
Yeah, that's why it was.
So if it contains the key.
No, I don't want that. Yeah.
And you're missing a closed paren. That's why it's having some problems.
There
you go.
If it contains,
that means the theme is in the map.
So now we have to. Looking at my notes here.
We have to get
that theme.
So we have to. You drop the word get. So we need to get the value for that theme.
Got it.
So it's just get.
Got some duplication here, huh?
Uh-huh. So you can fix it now, or you can fix it later.
I will fix it now. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Control W. There's 3 occurrences?
Yeah, because there's one in the original line of code that we had.
Oh.
May as well replace it all. We're going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Last thing anyway.
What do I want to call it? Lowercase theme?
Perhaps normalized theme.
Ooh, even better. Normalized theme.
I mean, we could have used just theme, but it's not.
We're gonna, yeah, and we're gonna clash into it if we don't. Okay, so normalized theme. That's the theme. We get it. Then we're gonna put to the map. We can reuse this.
So get returns the list.
Oh right.
Yeah, I might just do song list.
That's kind of where I was heading.
Yeah. And what we'll
end up doing. Sorry, go.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say we have to pull that out of the if block because we're gonna need it.
Yeah.
Is there a way to refactor to do that, or just copy and paste?
Yeah, I think you can do that. If you
does it make it?
I don't think it's going to be a refactor. I think if anything, it's going to be a quick fix.
Oh, let's see what quick fix is.
No, it probably doesn't know what scope to push it to yet. If we use it on line 22, so instead of arrays as list songs, if we use it there, because that's what eventually we're going to do.
Right.
You don't need the arrays as list anymore because it's already a list.
I was just trying to get it to go red, so it would be. Now, quick fix.
Now you can bring it into scope. Yep.
Sweet. I want to make sure this is right though. Let's see. Put for the theme. Are we in a giant for loop? We are. Okay.
Yeah.
Given that, I want to get rid of this cruft.
So now we can write the else part of that block.
Oh, do we want to do an else if or just an else?
Just an else.
Not. Yeah. There's no. Why did it not? Oh well.
So you want to assign the new array list to song list, right? So song list we either get from the map because it's already there, or we create a new one.
So we're creating a new one. So in this case, it would be a new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you don't need to do that because it already knows the type. And you want to assign it to song list.
Yeah, I think the instructions are getting me confused. What are you saying? Like this?
Mm-hmm. And then new array list.
Oh. Duh.
That's it. Right. So if it's already there, there'll be a list that we can add to. If it isn't already there, we create a new one that we can add to, and then we'll put it back in the map.
Got it. But we are.
So there's one more step.
Yeah, we're missing.
We're missing that step.
Yeah. And that's outside.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
And that we just add to.
What?
Yep. What you thinking?
What are we adding? Song?
Add the song.
Oh, right. We're in the song loop. Oh, sorry. These comments are so they push the top off. Let me make this taller. Right.
Yeah, add the song.
I was like, there's no song in scope. And I was like, because this was.
Yep. All right, we did all that. And
Yeah,
now you can drop
you
can drop the null because it's definitively assigned.
Is that a quick fix for that?
That's a quick fix, yeah.
Remove redundant initializer.
Yep.
Awesome. And I believe we can get rid of this comment. Just want to double check.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think what I should have done was had it outside the for loop. So that way I saw the entire scope.
Yep.
So lesson learned. So do we think this is going to work?
Should.
It
was a fair amount of code to write while
There's
in red.
a lot for one red. Yeah.
But that's one of those where if you were doing it with your, less familiarity than mine, probably would have done it in smaller steps. But it worked.
Cool.
Do we want to add an assertion to make sure that when we search for Christmas, we get that song? I think that should just work. Maybe now's a good time to inline the.
So I'm curious about that. So if we do that, we're now combining the assert and the action.
Yeah.
So
yes. So one could argue we should put both search by themes into two separate variables and then assert them separately. And I think that is giving up readability for it must always be 3 parts.
Right.
So I'd rather have I'd rather inline the queries and then it's really clear that we're not doing queries, because technically the code we're testing is actually the constructor, and so the constructor, so line 53 to 55 is really the setup and the action.
Yeah. So now it should also work.
It should still pass. All right.
Yep.
Excellent.
Sweet. So now we want to
Commit.
try approach 2 and commit. Yes. Experiment. Well, it's not an experiment, but
you could say verbose implementation.
query? I don't like the word
It's not a
query.
multi-theme query. It's a multi-song results or multiple songs per query.
Right. But we're only getting one song per query.
So you could say, yeah, because really what we did was we supported multiple themes.
Right.
So that's what we did, of multiple themes.
Cool.
I find that confusing because it's not a multi-theme search.
Oh,
It's searching, being able to search for multiple themes, being able to search for songs with multiple themes.
is it?
Yeah.
The search song
Songs
with multiple themes. But we don't have any songs with multiple themes. Each of these is one song. There is no song that has two themes.
Search for songs with separate themes.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree that multiple themes there is still confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means we should fix the name of the test too.
Yes, probably.
Separate?
Yeah, I think separate is better, or different. Either way, maybe different is better. Yeah,
different's always better. For songs with different themes. Search finds all songs.
Yeah, because it's not just more than one theme. It's that there are, for each theme, for each song, it has a different theme. So I think different is good here.
What's fascinating about this is that writing our commit message ended up changing the name of a test,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is super cool.
Yeah, and it's helping us refine our language.
Right.
Yeah.
Songs with different themes search. Four songs with different themes. Search finds all songs.
We could make that longer by saying by their themes, but there's a point at which I think like test method names sort of have diminishing returns, because ultimately you're going to say, I don't understand that. Let me look at the setup.
Right.
Good.
Commit?
Yeah, let's commit.
Okay. Hey. Right. Shift F12.
Search works for more than a single theme.
I think he's referring to a comment above it. Within one theme.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, some of this might will will likely change because we're implementing stuff in memory that we may not do in memory after a certain point. Although on the flip side, why not have it in memory? The only place where that we're having so this is sort of a larger question of why rely on the database if you can just load everything into memory? Like, why talk to the database at all? Load it upon startup and read it from there. And I see this again. It's sort of this idea of, well, that won't scale. Like, really? How many songs do you need to have before you before you exceed even like one of the smallest virtual machines that you would deploy to, which has a gigabyte of RAM? How many songs can you fit in half a gigabyte? Like, a lot, because we're not storing because we're not storing the songs themselves, right? We're not storing digital data for the MP3s or whatever. Like, even if it was a K per song, that's still a lot of songs in 512 megabytes.
And then, but we'd
So,
have to have some sort of persistence. We persist to a flat file.
well, at that point, it's you still might persist to a database because it's convenient, but
Right,
you
right,
wouldn't do the searching in the database because
right.
why talk to the world when you already have it in memory?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, the question would then become, well, how often is that basically map updated? Because then you'd have to figure out how to both mutate the database and reload the map at the appropriate times, and how long does that take? But even so, like, let's say it is 10,000 songs. How long does it take to load 10,000 songs in from the database if you're only updating it, a couple of times a day? Still way faster than doing the search, every single search through the database.
Right.
In a sense, you are caching, right? And so all this is all about like caching. And if your cache is big enough, you basically cache the entire database. And at that point, you might say, well, we're doing updates frequently enough, so let's just rely on the cache to do the work for us. And then it's still in memory, but you're letting the cache do the work. And then so I mentioned this constantly about like, and I know Paul Tevis talked about this technique on LinkedIn about how many are you going to store? You're going to store 10, 100, 1,000, a million. And at some point you'll say a million. No, we're never going to have a million. We're going to have 1,000, right? And so by going, jumping orders of magnitude with the question, you often say, no, a million, that's ridiculous. We're never going to have a million. Or maybe you will have a million. But when will you have a million? Well, we probably won't have a million for a few years. Like, okay, then 1,000? No, we're gonna have more than 1,000, right? And so by jumping these orders of magnitude, you get a sense of what are we talking about? Because even a million songs you could store in memory, and it really becomes then about how often are you changing it and modifying it. But if it's read mostly, you just load the whole thing into memory and read from there.
What's the spelling for Paul Tevis' name?
Tevis.
Tevis.
I'll find a link for it.
Cool.
He's a guy I know from consulting retreat. And actually Kent Beck sort of reposted that. But I'll find a link for it.
Cool.
All right, so that's our complicated but at least well-trodden path for implementing this. Does IntelliJ help us at all if we do a quick fix on the for loop? Is it going to write the correct code? No, that's not helpful.
No.
That's not helpful either. I bet the AI assistant, if you had it activated, would probably come up with one of the two alternatives. But
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
So to do this, would it be?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is instead of our if else, we're basically going to so let's do it this way. Let's take our normalized theme declaration and move it all the way to 10.5.
Uh-oh. One second. Is it Control to move it up? No.
No, Control Shift.
Shift. So it's there. No, down one.
Down one. Yeah. And we won't need actually let's delete 14 because we won't need that anymore. Let's combine 13 and 14. So you can do that with a shortcut, which is Control Shift J.
That's a new one.
So the reason why you do Control Shift J, especially there, is note that it dropped the extra song list. It didn't just concatenate the lines.
I'm going to do it again. I'm just writing down my little.
So I use Control Shift J as much as possible for two reasons. One is it does that. And the other is often you have a lot of white space indent that if you just deleted the end of the line and tried to concatenate them together, you end up having to delete a lot of white space. So
right.
Control Shift J does that for you.
So this is what we had before.
Yep.
And now, and cursor anywhere, I presume.
Cursor anywhere, yeah.
Control Shift J.
So Sweet. It's basically a smart join lines.
Right.
Let's delete the else. Delete that. Let's move 14 above. And here's where we'll do the put if absent. So what we want to do is on the theme to songs map. So instead of song list equals, let's delete that. 13.
Oh, the whole line? Or
no, just the song list equals.
Got it.
And the equals. And now we can say the theme to songs map dot put if absent. I think you lost the new, but that's fine.
Yeah, I know. I thought so.
But we'll get it back. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So put if absent. And you can, yep. And normalized theme is our key. And then comma, and then that's it. And so you can delete 12. And you can replace the key on 15 also with normalized theme. Control W would have been slightly
I know. Yeah, I'm going to undo it and do it.
Yeah.
So Control W. Yeah, is it any different? Was it a little bit faster? I'm going to do it again.
So
this was, I was doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so because it's stopping at each camel case.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's much less.
So the other reason why it's faster, if you overshoot, it's pretty easy to go back, and sometimes it's a little harder. And also you can be anywhere along that that phrase, that expression, and it would select it.
I could be here too.
Yeah. Then it's actually faster because it'll. Yeah. All right. So what we're doing is we normalize the theme. We basically say, hey, if this isn't already in there, put in an empty map. Then we go get the map, get the list. So put the empty list in if it's not there. If it is there, line 12 is a no op. So line 12 takes care of basically our if statement. So it eliminates that logic from our code and puts it into the method name. Otherwise, it should be the equivalent. But let's run our test to see.
Okay. Oh, sorry, my cursor got moved out. Nope.
Shift F10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brain fart.
Voila.
Sweet.
So slightly less code. Fewer, or we got rid of our ifs. So it's a slight improvement. So let's commit that. We can eliminate maybe line 18. Yep. Well,
that work?
We could count the number of lines. I don't know if very slightly or very. Anyway, that's fine.
Yeah, I was just being a wise ass.
Yeah, that's fine.
Commit.
Hey, this is going to be in your commit stream, not mine. So you do what you want. All right, and now we can go and leverage our wonderful stream capability.
This I will need.
Yeah, I'll just give it to you. It's not. So this is going to replace the for loops. Let's insert the code above the for loop. So we first need to get a stream from our songs. Since that comes in as an array, we're going to need to use forget if it's off of arrays as stream. I think it's arrays. Yeah, no, not array list, arrays. And then yeah, stream, and then songs. So that gives us a stream. So now we're going to put on a new line dot. Now we're going to do basically a collect. So we're not mapping, we're not modifying anything. We're just going to do a collect. And let's put this on a new line. Collectors dot grouping by. So no, inside the collect.
Oh, sorry.
Get rid of that .co. That's going to mess us up. So inside the collect, we're going to do collectors dot grouping by, uppercase C. OR. Collectors. I know. Grouping by. Yep. And inside the grouping by, this is basically what's our key.
Song.theme to lowercase.
Right. So we could, it's basically right here, we're normalizing the theme.
Oh, you could just.
But we need to express this as a lambda.
Okay, so sorry, once again.
So we could do it as a method handle. Let's say we didn't want to normalize it. What we would do is we would say uppercase song, and then colon, and then we'd say theme. So that would be fine if we didn't want to normalize it, but we do want to normalize it. So ask IntelliJ to convert that to a lambda with a quick fix. Replace method with lambda. Yep.
Then
and now you can do the 2 lowercase. We might want to replace the song1 with just S. I'm fine with that as a local variable. Or we could call it song, actually. There's no reason for this to be song1. This is
right, because we're going to get rid of
yeah.
hello code.
So now it's grouped by that. And we just assign it. So just do a .var. Boom. And just assign it to, we don't even need the declaration. Now we can just literally assign that to theme to songs map. And you don't need the declaration because we're assigning it directly to the field.
I got it.
Yep. Yep.
And it's complaining because of all this.
Yeah, you can say this dot, or you can get rid of the other stuff. I would say this dot. Yep. Oops.
Why doesn't it like that?
Oh, because it's marked as final. Yeah. We could do that, or we could. Yeah, let's. So the only problem with the collect is it might create an unmodifiable map. I don't think that's going to be a problem now. It might be a problem in the future. So instead, what we could do is on the map, we can just, I think we can just say put all. We do a put all.
Meaning after map dot put all?
Yeah. And then everything is in that. And you can do a reformat to get that to look a little nicer.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And if you don't like it that far indented, you might put the arrays dot stream on a new line.
Yeah, I mean, right now, because we're using this horizontal split.
Yeah, but we still might want to.
Not so annoying, but it will drive us crazy eventually. So if I do.
Yep. Performance log.
Yeah, I mean,
and now we should be able to get rid of the for loop.
Yeah. I'll leave that there for a second.
Priestess Uro, yes, we could have also done, instead of put if absent, we could do a getter default. Basically the same. It's still the same problem of having to do the loop. So it would have resulted in one less line of code. Yeah. But that's one of those, that's a local optimization. We're going for more global optimization by using our streams and letting it do all the work.
Running the test?
Yeah, let's make sure that works. AC camera.
Yep, it does.
All right. So we've gone from a bunch of lines of code in a loop to, in a sense, either one long line of code or a few lines of code, depending on how you spread it out. But it's really the main thing that is driving that operation is just line 14.
Yeah, we can get rid of this now.
Yeah, I can do that.
Should have made a difference, but
hey, run all the tests all the time.
Exactly.
Commit.
Yeah.
I assume we're going to keep this version and not the other ones.
I think so, yeah. Cool with you?
Sure. All right. What's next? So
Should
we
we go
now,
look at Jira?
yeah, let's go look at Jira. Astrid,
Good evening.
welcome.
Returns model with multiple song matching.
So
We
that
actually haven't done that.
I
Yeah.
think that's the disabled test at the outer layer, and we needed to support. So I think we actually did stuff that we didn't have on our list.
I think we did too. I was just going to say that.
Which is, if we want to get the dopamine, it's actually up above because it's part of the domain layer as opposed to the.
Right.
Maybe you want to label these two sections.
Sure.
The top one is domain or application actually, and the bottom one is adapter. And that might, and maybe next time we package up according to hexagonal architecture.
Oh, right. Yeah, we could still try and do that if we have time.
All right, Suiji, have a good night. See you next time.
See you, Suiji.
Yeah, so
I guess officially we've hit the 2-hour mark, but I'm cool with going a bit longer if you are.
Yeah, I've got another 10, 15 minutes. I can go.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
So we were going to add a.
Yeah. And this one was a result of just the way we implemented it. That's why we didn't write it as an initial feature, because we expected to be able to store songs, multiple songs per theme, and store multiple themes. So it's probably find songs that have separate themes.
Yeah. Or didn't we settle on different?
Oh, right, we did. Yes. Thank you.
Ubiquitous language.
Yeah.
Find songs that have different themes. Yeah.
And we can check that off.
Dopamine.
Yeah. We can close that Jira.
So then we're gonna tackle this one. Given time, or do you want to do the packaging stuff since you only have 15 minutes?
The packaging will take all of like a minute.
Yeah.
So let's see how far we can get with this one.
Okay. Trends model with multiple song matching. That's this one, right?
Right.
Does this disabled test represent that now?
Indeed it does. And so this one we could have probably undisabled earlier, because we'd actually technically finished the code that this needs, because this doesn't talk about different themes.
Right.
But that's fine.
So we could run it, prove that assertion.
Yeah, will it work? I don't know.
I didn't read it that closely. That's why I was kind of.
Well, I'd have to look at the implementation.
Let's just run it and find out. Yeah.
Okay, good. So it doesn't. So basically, we are probably not processing all of the results, because we certainly are returning multiple results. We know that from our inner layer, from our application layer test. So we probably just need to fix our controller, which I expect to be easy.
Okay. Did you want the results back up, or
no? We know that it only returned one of them, not all of them. Oh, okay. All right. That actually is unexpected then.
You were thinking it was not getting a list?
I didn't. So we were doing the right thing. All right, let's look at the results again, because now.
Oh. Well, I'm not sure. we don't actually have a application layer test that returns multiple songs of one theme, do we?
Yeah, we do. Isn't it the test above it?
Oh, yeah, we do. Okay.
Right. So
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 it's a
that
controller issue.
getting that test to pass was the necessary what's needed to get the controller test to pass. Let's look at the controller test again. So we create is our create song themes controller broken?
Ooh, maybe.
Yeah. So we should probably look for our create song searcher that takes a single song and get rid of that. Oh no, that's variable arguments. Oh, that's right. So this will be an
It's
easy
this.
fix. This will be a really easy fix. Yeah.
Okay. So just delete this.
Uh-huh.
Rerun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Done.
Pass.
All right.
Sweet. So that means in Jira.
So in fact, other than having a little bit of broken test code, once we had our application layer doing the right thing, the adapter just worked because it already did what it needed to do. All right.
So does
Let's
this one find
yeah.
multiple songs that match the theme? This one we should have checked off.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yep.
Triple dopamine today.
Yeah. Love when
You were going to say something?
I love when a plan comes together.
Commit?
Yeah, let's commit.
We only changed the test?
We only changed the test. So we re-enabled the test and then we fixed the broken setup.
And the broken setup was in test code, not
Right.
factory methods that
Right.
the production code's using. Ah, okay. I don't know. Enabled.
Do
we want the exact name?
No, I think that's totally fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Committed. And we're green.
And we are green. And are we very green, as in no disabled tests?
Let's go.
We are very green.
Yeah, we are very green. Well, we want to really. Do we have any non-IO free tests? I can't remember. If
yeah, we probably have a few. So let's run those.
Ooh.
I suspected that we might have a broken MVC test because we made some changes to the controller. So now our get request requires, and this actually we can fix in one of two ways. One is we could write more tests at this layer to say, what happens if you try to do a theme search without putting a query? What do we do then? Because that would just, I mean, we could just return a 404, which is not technically, which you could sort of twist and say, you know, not found is applies. Or so we could either, so I think there's a little bit of, what do you want it to do? That we may have to defer till next time.
Right.
But what we want to do is get back to green. So we need to add a query parameter. Let's go to our controller. I just want to check what the parameter there is. Did we mark it as a parameter? We did not. So let's go do that. So this is good that this failed. In fact, let's make it fail the correct way by having an actual query parameter in our test. So at the end of theme search in the string, we're going to add a query parameter inside the string, which is a question mark, not a comma. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
And now we get to decide what we call the parameter. And we can call it requested theme.
Yeah. Seems like it's good enough for now.
So requested theme and then equals, and then applesauce or pants or something. Doesn't matter. So let's run that, or let's
Now
just
it's going
run
to
all
fail
that.
in a different way. Run
So,
all or just that one?
So either it's going to fail in the same way, or it's going to pass. And this depends on how much Magic Spring is adding. So let's run it. And yeah, you might as well run all of them. Because what I'm not sure is, can it detect the name of the parameter by the name of the parameter, which it did. So
well, because we matched the name.
Yes.
Without explicitly doing it.
I generally don't like that much magic.
Yeah.
Because
should we change the mapping?
So it's not a mapping thing. It's basically the requested theme parameter. We need to put an annotation in front of it.
Right. What?
So C Camera asks about this applesauce thing. And so the purpose of applesauce, or pants is shorter, is the idea where it's like, I don't care about this thing. So sometimes we'll use it, maybe as a value that we just don't care about. It just needs to be something. Or also, if we have a method and we don't know what to call it yet, it's often better to give it an obviously wrong name than something that might be only somewhat wrong. So applesauce, pants, and I know I learned it from Arlo Belshi.
What attribute are we doing?
So this is an request param, request param, and then it takes a parameter as a string, and it's going to be requested theme.
Oh, okay.
So this is the magic that it does. Spring says, I know the name of this parameter. I can figure that out at runtime. But by specifying it, this does two things. One is it makes it clear that this is a request parameter, so it makes it more readable. Yeah. The other is it protects us against renames. Yeah. So if you didn't have this and you did a refactor rename, you would have broken your code.
Right.
So now we could rename that if we wanted to, and it should still work, but we're not.
Not likely to
I don't feel the need to test that.
No.
Great. Let's commit.
Fixed BC test. Better way of saying it?
By adding missing request parameter. Yeah, I know some folks use rename me. I don't like using underscores, especially to differentiate between things, because I find that hard to read. Although sometimes I will just use a bunch of underscores. But it is somewhat hard, can be somewhat hard to work with a bunch of underscores. Single underscore, though, is actually no longer a valid name because of some upcoming features in Java.
I guess if you did like a random number of underscores at the end, that I guess something would compile if you got the wrong one. But then if you did Shift F6 to rename it, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I like that approach.
Yeah, I mean, it does have the advantage of it's ugly and you want to get rid of it. So I can see that.
Yeah.
All right, so all our tests pass. We've got a few minutes left. Should we refactor to hexagonal?
Sure.
All right, for that, yeah, you want your project. So let's, so what you want to do is select all the ones that are domain objects. So song, yep, and song searcher, and that's it. Now song views DTO.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, DTO.
And now F6, and we'll move it. And so at the end of that, we'll basically say dot domain.
Oh, sorry. That's what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do I need to search?
No. I mean, you can leave it. It's not going to matter.
Not going to do anything.
Yep.
Yes, please, create it.
And now all the stuff that's in the adapter, let's move that. Technically, yes, that's adapter, but
this one.
that's not really part of our feature. So
Right.
yeah, song themes controller and song view. Yep.
Control F6?
No, F6.
Oh, F6. That's what's the problem.
And so this is adapter.
You want to do dot in?
And then dot in, yep. And then dot web. Yep. Yep. That's it. And now we want to align our tests so that they are also at the same layers. That's the only one.
Yeah, I think it's only one, right? That goes to domain. What am I doing? F6.
And now move, yeah, controller and MVC into adapter and web.
I think we did adapter in, then web.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I said.
Oh.
At least I thought I said that.
I missed the end. Brain could have been parsing slowly.
All right, let's run all our tests just to make sure nothing's broken. I think we're
and these two stay at the outer layer.
Aha. Thought something like that might happen. So now we can ask the question, is it okay for configuration to, and so here's where, and I think this came up in my stream yesterday, here's where it'd be nice if nested packages, if you could sort of align things, because we want application, which is basically configuration startup, to be able to access domain objects directly. Although actually any layer should be able to access it. So let's just fix that.
Okay.
Oh, it just didn't have an import. Oh, so it was fine. I thought it might not be public, but it is. It just didn't do the import. So let's just run it again. Yeah, when you move stuff, it doesn't go and update all the imports for you. And so this is the same problem. If you open up the file, it will just auto fix it because we have auto import on the fly. It always bums me out that it doesn't fix this for you because it's an obvious fix. Before it didn't need to import it because it was all in the same package, but now that we move packages around, it actually didn't quite update all of the imports.
Interesting. So it's not savvy enough to do that, huh?
I don't know why it didn't do that for song, because yeah, yeah, I don't understand why it didn't do that. As soon as we moved song into domain, it should have added the necessary imports as part of that move refactoring. I don't know if that's an open issue, but I might go look for it. All right. So for the stuff that's left over, we can leave it at the top level, which is kind of where I leave it. but also acceptable, and I go back and forth about this, is put it into config.
Meaning a sibling of domain called config?
Yeah. This homepage control is just a special case of it's not really part of our feature. It's just a part of the walking skeleton.
Right. So it'd be this one that would go in config possibly.
Yeah.
And you go back and forth on that one?
Yeah, if there's not a lot of config, I tend to just leave it at the top level. If there starts to be like 3, 4, 5 files, which we will get to once it gets more complex, once we're setting up the web security stuff and some database stuff, we might end up having several config files, and then I'll put it into its own package.
I'm wondering about if we put in a config package now, but then just for that one file, but leave homepage controller where it is. Will that help sort of remind us, oh yeah, homepage controller is just temporary for the walking skeleton? Is there any value in doing it now to config? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, there's
no.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, there's no real harm either. So
yeah,
I just tend not to like packages that have one thing in them unless it's really going to make something more clear. But I don't think it has much value here.
Cool. Okay. We have to commit.
Yes, let's definitely commit. I generally just say refactor to hexagonal architecture packaging.
Great.
All right. And let's check it out. Let's go into Jira and close that issue. Let's close that Jira.
Which one was it?
The last one there, 23.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we even had that there.
Yep.
Cool. Now I'll get a commit.
Oh, don't put it in quotes. It's Jira. Come on. All right.
Cool.
Finished just in time.
There we go. We were going for top of the hour. Perfect.
All right. So next time we'll continue with our adapter. So now that our application core code supports everything that we need to, at least initially, we can start generating some HTML. And then we'll figure out what the following stories are from there.
Sounds good. And that's tomorrow, right?
That is tomorrow. What time did we say?
I think it's 30 minutes later than we started today.
Right. So 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. UTC. And so just as a reminder, if you're not already a part of the Discord, where we talk about this stuff and where I announce feature streams, go ahead and join. Friendly bunch. And that's all, folks. So thanks for joining us today. Thanks for all the great chat and comments as always. And Mike, I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.